Hey everybody, it's Ron at Becoming Enlightened Together. So I'm going to go ahead and do two readings back to back, and we'll just play it by ear, see what comes up and all that. But for the last couple of months, I think we can say honestly that a lot of the energy's been focused on those who are more or less in the karmic energy within our energetic sphere of influence. So, and some of us out there may not even be aware of who these people actually are because a lot of them are wearing masks and things of that nature. Now, for a lot of us, we already know intuitively, or the masks in question have already started to crumble, if not come off completely. So we see the people for who they are. Um, it's no secret that there's always people out there that have envy and jealousy, and they just don't want to see another person, happy. Sometimes you know how it is. Hurt people. And if you are intuitive, and especially if you're, I guess you could say, a chosen one, an earth seed, or any of those types of, titles that people in spirituality commonly, use. It just means you're in a higher vibration. You are walking daily, in the spirit and less in the flesh. It's not to say that you're not enjoying things while you're here and doing things while you're here that, you know, if done in excess would be looked at as being very low vibrational. It just means that you're doing things that are more healthy. You know, we're here to learn. We're here to help and share, but we're also here to experience things. So that means sometimes those things that we could actually allow to run us instead of actually controlling it. Um, if we're not careful, if we are basically walking in a higher vibration, then of course, for the majority of us, that means we've already gone through these challenges, these tests, and everything else. So, and that's a prelude to what this particular reading right here is all about that I'm doing. This was about somebody who's trying to discover their destiny or is discovering their destiny. They're realizing their abilities, some of which may be occultic abilities. Maybe they're finding that they have one of the many clairs, or maybe even all of the clairs. There's no limit to what I'm seeing here. You're becoming increasingly intuitive, and it looks like basically this is an initiation for you. So this particular end of the cycle is because you have actually gone through a lot of different types of challenges, tests, and because you've succeeded in those tests, your so-called initiation, to get your to the next highest vibrational level, if you will. I really don't know with a certainty how to explain it, okay? Because it's more of an intuitive thing as well as what I'm seeing here in terms of the energy with the runes. I've heard it explained a multitude of different ways from other practitioners and people who are, doing tarot and things of that nature on a regular basis. But the truth of the matter is, we are just, if you will, putting forward the same things that we ourselves are hearing from other people. How many of us have actually taken the time to really get into it and try to find exactly what the truth in this particular matter is? Now, it's not easy to do when you're talking about things of spirit, granted, because it's largely things that are unseen in the classical sense of what truth is. If you're looking at it from a scientific lens, for example. But when we're looking at things through spirit, we can test these things. In fact, we're expected to test these things. If you're looking at it from a Abrahamic, one of the Abrahamic faiths and so on, we're supposed to test the spirits, so to speak, so to see if they are indeed truth. And truth is basically the one thing, I guess you could say, that from my personal life is I'm always looking for. I'm looking for truth in all things in life. I've discovered that almost everything I've been taught is a lie. Whether it's been perpetuated as a deliberate lie by those who are, in the if you will, the authority level of teaching those things, or they themselves are just completely oblivious to the fact that these things are not true, and they're just, like I was saying earlier, repeating. They're repeaters, in the words of, David Icke. If you're not familiar with his work and everything else, he wrote The Secret and many other things. He's written a lot of books, and I can't say I prescribe or subscribe to everything that he believes, of course. A lot of the things that he says, he's been ridiculed for decades. But a lot of the things that he has said has also panned out to be true, in other realms. So something that he talks about, is the fact that people often believe that they're sharing something that's unique or authentic or whatever the case may be, when in fact what they're doing is they're simply repeating information that somebody had told them previously without doing any research to see if those things are so. And Mark Twain, one of my favorite authors and so on, because his intelligence and the fact that he was a close personal friend of one of the greatest minds that existed last century, Nikola Tesla, he said something exactly, in fact, along those lines, where, that people basically are simply repeaters today of information. They haven't, done any research on that subject, or very little research. They're just passing that information along that they had heard from other repeaters. And their opinions are basically worth, as he called it, a brass farthing, which is basically like a penny or whatever the case may be. It's not worth much, So, and I try to avoid that where I can. Now, there are certain things within spirituality, of course, that you cannot prove per se. But they go along, or they tie in with other things that you believe you've already proven or seem to be true, at least for you in your life, okay? So, and that's where I'm trying to go with a lot of these things, and I agonize over it sometimes because, most of the people in what we do here, if they're genuine about it, they go through a phase of what's called imposter syndrome. They question themselves, they doubt themselves, and they're constantly looking for, little evidences of, that they indeed are on the right track. And, they go deep in their meditation and, looking for other confirmations along the way, numerically, or numerologically, I should say, or through their own dabbling into, things such as divination or whatever the case may be. And, and inevitably it seems to be a phase that all of us go through, and then we come out the other side. And, just like with everything else we go through, it's like an initiation phase. You have to go through the doubts, you have to go through the obstacles, the hurdles, and everything else. And once you get to the other side, well, then you're a much stronger version of, the person who initially took on this challenge. All right, so let's get into the reading. Like I said, this one is about somebody who's basically discovering their destiny and their abilities, somebody who's getting to the very end of their initiation phase. They're basically also at the end of this, I got some ideas as to some of the things that they're going to have to get through to get to the other side, and some of it deals with temptation. And of course some possible radical changes that are going to happen in their life, whether you fight it or will roll with the punches and so on and so forth. But what we're going to see at the end of this reading is, as far as our future outcome, we have all the strength, the power available to basically create the end result that we desire. Okay, so what is the initial energy? Well, until tomorrow at midnight, it's still Fehu, goddess Freya's rune, in the upright, and it talks about all things dealing with abundance, and not just physical abundance, but abundance in terms of your fertility and creative abilities. But it does deal, of course, with your wealth, financial and material gain, and so on. Your possessions won or earned. It talks about luck as well, fiscal strength, either now or in the very near future coming up, hope, strength, success. Talks about foresight, and again, productivity as well as fertility. So very, very positive. Uh, I mean, it's probably one of the most positive runes in terms of materialism and so on and so forth. That's not all it represents now. Goddess Freya was also a god of magic and war, as well as love. So we have all of those things that are factored in to this particular energy for this week as well. So keep that in mind, even when things don't look positive. As far as the collective is concerned, all that energy is basically, at your disposal. It's there for you. It's representative of your potential, your vibration, your resonance, your frequency. Now, the past energy that we had that we pulled last Sunday for today is that of Wunyo in the reverse. Now, of course, any of the reverse, energies are typically the polar opposite, although not always. For the most part, that's what it represents. So, being that it was typically considered like the wishing rune, in the reverse, it talks about things that are not so positive for us. Dissatisfaction and misery are part of that. Talks about fear and impatience. Someone who's very headstrong. Somebody's going through a tremendous amount of sorrow and strife at this time. Somebody's being alienated or self-alienating them. Somebody who is, intoxicated. Somebody who may be in some type of a rage, berserk. In fact, that's the actual term. It was also a branch of special forces for the Norse, the berserkers. They worked themselves up into a frenzy and everything else, and they were said to be, immune to pain and all that, and they could create a lot of damage. So, but this person is in a negative fashion, losing touch and control of themselves. So, possession by higher forces, and an impractical enthusiasm and raging frenzy is all part of the energy. And again, we're talking about the person that, or persons that we would classify again as being the karmics in our life. Those who either now for you knowingly or still perhaps secretly, but you have some intuitive nudging as to who this person or people are that are, more or less giving you the evil eye, and in some cases even going to the extremes, like in my case, where they're literally doing spells and, all manner of dark energetic work against you. Now, I already know that they know, at least in my case, and hopefully for yours as well, that all that energy is returning right back to them. Especially if you out there are doing your daily cleansing and things of that nature, you're staying high vibrational and all that, they can't touch you. Again, it's like them trying to tune into a radio where you are resonating at 200 hertz, and they're only able to, at the very most, produce 50 hertz. That's as high as their energy is, their highest vibration or resonance can go. They can't touch you. Okay? So that's what we're kind of talking about here, to put it into some, of a perspective, of three-dimensional perspective, so to speak. Okay. Now the present energy is that of Perthro, but it's in the upright. So our energy for today supersedes what we had forecast on Sunday in terms of the potential negative energy, which we saw a lot of previous weeks. Okay. So that's good. Okay. That means that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Now, what does Perthro in the upright mean? It talks about things such as dice and dice cup and lots and destiny and mystery and secrets, and again, initiations. It talks about things which are secret matters, secret initiations. And again, this could be an initiation into a society of some type, secret society, and they're not all bad, okay? And it's a lot of these earlier secret societies were started with, tremendous amount of knowledge that they knew in the wrong hands could cause a great deal of damage, collectively speaking. But that is changed. It's changed a lot. In fact, the very people that have a lot of this knowledge are the very last people that should possess this knowledge in today's world. So it's one hand, scratching the back of somebody else, to get something that they want, if you will, instead of actually doing good for the collective as a whole, for existence as a whole. In other words, everything that they do is more of a self gratuitous type of nature. They only care about their own wants, needs, and desires. And if those people were at some point actually within the collective or high vibrational, they probably are being stripped of their energy as a result of that, their power, whatever power they may have had. So this again speaks to occult abilities as well. Knowledge of one's destiny or fate, or knowing the destiny of yourself and others for that matter. It talks about things which are feminine as well. Fertility, feminine fertility, the vagina, sexuality. It's typically a very good lot. It talks about fellowship and joy, evolutionary changes. It's very, very positive. So again, this is speaking to the collective in terms of you are being initiated into a higher state of being. Just keep up, with the hard work and everything else. Don't give up, and don't put your guard down. Okay, just make it a daily type of exercise so it becomes second nature, so to speak. Muscle memory in your spirit. Now, what we have as far as some of our challenges, we have Degas. This is our obstacle and challenges position, and Degas is in the reverse. Now, Degas typically talks about two, opposite polarities coming together. Think of like an hourglass, or two triangles. They come together, and when they come together, there's that point, right, where they both intersect. Yin and yang, male and female, black and white, whatever you want to call it, okay? And the reverse, it's the opposite in many ways, okay? And it also talks about one's attitude, or somebody who has a lot of attitude. It talks about radical changes, endings, limits, somebody who's come full circle. Maybe they started off and they were high vibrational. Well, now they're losing, again, all of their initial gifts and so on. So somebody who's blind, somebody who's hopeless. Those are the obstacles and challenges, okay? It could be because this person has become, like I said, more clear to you who they may be, okay? And as their mask falls apart, you focusing on, the things that are going on, it could have an effect upon your journey as well. A lot of us have empathy, okay? A lot of us, they don't want to see people, suffer and things of that nature. Now, these people may have wanted that for us and far more. But, for us, it gives us a sense of, again, the golden rule, do unto others. Well, if I was acting stupid, if I'd done a lot of very bad things, without thinking about it, and I was just oblivious to all of that. I was so wrapped up in my own carnal wants, needs, and desires that I just couldn't see or get my head out of my ass, so to speak. You would hope that somebody who is, if you will, capable of seeing these things would be able to at least in some way, shape, or form, at the very least, pray for me. At the very most, sit me down and really, walk me through all of this to help me to see this. And of course, not everybody's going to be willing to hear it. So there's always that side too. But what I'm saying is these things could derail us or sidetrack us if we're not careful. So I'm not telling you not to help, not at all. Do what you can, whatever your conscience dictates to you. Listen to that. Listen to your own intuition. Now, in terms of our help and advice, we have a Legos. Now, Legos in the upright talks about things that are water related, your emotions, dreams, fantasies, desires, and your intuitive abilities. But in the reverse, it has the opposite effect, okay? This is somebody who is, instead of doing the positive or thinking in terms or expanding their consciousness outward in a more positive light, it's more about the negative, or again, the carnal things such as temptations of every type, greed, acting against one's own conscience, being confused, moving in the wrong direction, making wrong decisions, bad judgment, again, fear, somebody feeling in a rut, um, feeling cornered, somebody who's moving around in circles, not able to go and, make any progress in any way, somebody who's avoidant, madness and perversity of all types, again, sickness and suicide. Okay, so all of these energies are, also a part of what we're seeing here today. Now, the confusion isn't for you in the collective. This is what, again, those who are observing your rise as they are descending. Again, remember now, you didn't even know that there was this competition going on, or this war that they had waged or declared upon you. They were aware of it the whole time. Now that they're seeing that you are finally rising, even though you may not feel like you are, they see that you are, in their opinion. They see improvements that you don't see because, you're looking at yourself every day. You don't know how much you've actually changed and evolved over the time that, since last you actually physically talked to this person or people. They do, and they know it, they feel it. So they're witnessing all of that, and they're also experiencing their own decline. Okay. Now, the future outcome for the collective, of course, is Urus. Now, Urus in the upright, I have this one tattooed on my chest, is about strength, health, vitality, having all the power necessary to make whatever changes that you desire, okay, for your own life. It's a time of great energy and health for you. It's basically giving you all the necessary tenacity to get the job done, whatever it is that you're setting your sights upon. Giving you untamed potential, understanding, and wisdom of things. All the courage that you can muster up to help you to get through obstacles or over, hurdles of every type. It talks about action. It talks about the male sexual mysteries, masculine potency, sexual desire, the shaping of power, and formulating one's own self. So as you can see, for the collective, because you are being gifted after proving yourself, going through the initiation phase of this journey and so on, you are moving along. So whether you're masculine or feminine, it doesn't matter. The things that are, the good things that we get in this life are going to be slowly, presented to you. And it's not just about materialistic pleasures or anything of that nature. It's just as a reward for your hard work. That's really what this is saying. So I'm going to end this here. We're already about at a little over 23 minutes. I don't want to, make these too long. I get into rambling and, I'll have another 10, 15 minutes. So I just want to say you guys keep up the good work. Rest assured that, again, your rewards are on the way. There are still a few things that we have to get through, and you still have to be very much aware of the fact that there are people out there, and some are far more dangerous than others in terms of their overall desire to see you fall. That you should not have any fear. Okay, none whatsoever. They can't touch you. They can make your life a little bit more difficult. They can delay things, but that's the extent of what they're capable of doing. No matter how many, if you want to say, demons they summon, or archonic spirits, or jinn-like entities, or whatever the case may be that they may be soliciting to do damage to you, those same spirits are turning upon them. Okay. They may not be aware of it. I don't know. It seems to me like what I'm getting as far as the energy here sometimes, that they must be, if they are trained in these arts, that, let's just say they've had their power stripped from them. And everything that they wanted or got away with for a long period of time is now being, switched around upon themselves, so they can experience and learn from these things, and understand that, the power that you had and everything else you chose to use for evil, when you could have turned around and used them for good, and blessed other people, which you would have been blessed as a result of that as well. And that's just the way that it works. That's the way energy works. So they're learning lessons the hard way. So collective, stay victorious, and I'll see you again in a few minutes. I'm going to do another reading, try to make up for the last couple of days I haven't done readings. I do the best that I can. There are days where it's just impossible for me to do this, or I'm just exhausted, or it could be a number of things. Like I said, I'm taking care of somebody right now, and I have my own things I'm battling with at the very same time. So as well as trying to move forward, and stay healthy, work out. I do all these things, and I'm always busy. My mind is certainly always working. So I encourage you all to do the same, and I hope that you are, feeling energized to do those things, because that energy is there. All you have to do is start putting that foot in front of the next foot, kind of a thing, and eventually you're going to get there, and you're going to look back and say, wow. So, and anyway, I'll just leave it at that. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.